It is July 16th, and this is G conducting a focus group. So these questions are intended for teachers who participate in the field test version of the PRISM workshop, training and coaching. Thank you all so much for agreeing to participate. My name is Marissa. I'm a research assistant over at Vandy, so I'm entering my second year. And before we get started, just want to give you all some background info. The purpose of the focus group is to learn more about your perspectives, gain your input on the pyramid model professional development opportunities that you participated in over the last 18 months. And we're seeking your input to learn how we can improve and build upon the professional development framework in the future. So with y'all's input, we'll be able to develop the model so it can continue to be implemented successfully by infant toddler care providers. The discussion will be videotaped today, and the purpose of that is that so we can focus on having a discussion, and then afterwards we're going to transcribe the dialogue from the recording and note your feedback. All of the ideas that you guys share today are going to be de-identified and summarized, so your names won't be tied to anything you say, and the summaries of the findings will be written in a way that protects your privacy and ensures that confidentiality. So my job today is to review the components of the infant toddler professional development model you participated in and ask some questions that'll help you reflect on specific aspects. So the questions are also intended to start a conversation among the two of you. So feel free to respond directly to my questions, but also respond to comments and ideas that are shared by other participants. Don't feel like you have to speak on every question, but we are really interested in hearing as many perspectives as possible on the majority of the questions. Do you all have any questions or concerns before we get started? All right, and I know Abby told y'all an hour. The past ones we've done have only been about 15-20 minutes, so just wanted to let you know.
We didn't have Abby, we had Tara.
Oh, okay, yeah. Perfect. All right, so the first topic deals with Tippy Toes Tier 1. So how would you describe the overall effectiveness of the training and coaching related to Tier 1 practices?
I think it was good. It was.
I think some of it was repetitive for us because Head Start, I really think Head Start stays on their game as far as when something new comes down the pipe. They make sure that it gets into our hands, and so it made me more conscious of being more effective and alert, and more conscious of what I say and do and the effect it has.
And then how would you describe the impact of the trainings and coaching on your ability to support all children's social, emotional, and behavioral needs?
Say that one more time.
Yep. How would you describe the impact of the trainings and coaching in Tier 1 on your ability to support all children's social, emotional, and behavioral needs?
I don't know. Kind of been different. I don't know that there was, as far as the trainings, we went in but just a few trainings, so there wasn't a whole lot of impact, I don't see, as far as that. But once again, Tara, us going back and revisiting, and she'd a lot of times be like, oh, this happened and this happened. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And she's like, oh, we all said this and this and this. I'm like, I don't remember that either. So revisiting helps you see what does happen, even though you don't think it's happening, but it is. So I think that, again, made you more aware that, okay, I am, being positive, and I am, making more connections. And I think one thing that had helped me, because I was always, I see you're upset. What can we do to make you feel better? But then connecting it to the emotions, to how you feel, and then the actual physical, you're frowning, you're smiling, making all those little connections, I think helped. And I hadn't been doing that before. I had always been talking, feelings, and try to talk you down and hold you, try to give you my calmness and things like that. So I think that's one thing that it helped me with.
I'm just going to agree.
Just,
I am.
Because even with you, one thing with you, she was always talking about, because when you get over and pretend and learn, you're in that world, So I think that's one thing that, when you get in there, get to playing and doing, you're not really thinking about teaching them something sometimes. You're just playing too. So I think that's And she don't realize she does that. She's just like, well, I don't. I'm like, yeah. So when you get in there, oh, I'm sick, girl, cook me something. Ooh, that ain't good. Go fix me something different, you know. So she's really, you know, role playing with them. So I think that's one of her strengths. But that's just my opinion.
I just be going with the flow. But no, I feel where Miss Kim is coming from, because like she said, I used to be like, oh, you just sad, and you know, I used to just leave it at that. But now it's like, oh, I see that you're crying, or your face doesn't look as happy, and you're not smiling. Well, you know, what's the matter? And then they'll tell you. And then here, the last month or so, we added the last step of, well, what can we do to make you feel better? What can we do to get you smiling again? And I was like, okay, I really didn't think about that, but I like that one. I like that.
And I think too that, I mean, I know for the general majority, this stuff works. But there's sometimes I think that making all those connections and throwing all that at them, they're just like, oh, I don't want to overwhelm them. So I would like to be more conscious of when I need to just sit and say, I see you're sad, it's okay, we'll fix it, and be done. Instead of throwing them 1,001 possibilities and 1,001 emotions when they can't even handle this one. They sure don't need to know there's 10, 15 more out there, you know, that they can't handle. And so I think sometimes it's just, you have to be old school, and you have to just, it's okay. And don't worry about all the verbiage. But us as teachers and spending every day with them, we learn that. We learn which ones we can have that conversation with, and the ones that are going to give us a response and make those connections. And then we also learn the ones that just, they look through you instead of at you, and you learn. So it's kind of hard when you do have a coach or have someone coming in, and because I know me and Tara back the first of the year, she's like, well, now why aren't you, because I said they don't know that their name is their name. They are called Bubba or whatever. Well, why ain't they, well, why don't you put name tag? Well, you know, and then she's like, alphabetic. I'm like, honey, these babies are 2. They're not ready for a lot of that. So I think when we have an extra person that comes in and just gets a little snapshot, they want to say, well, do this, 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 this. And you can try this, this, and this, but you need to know when to stop, too, and that this, and this just can't happen yet. And so I think that, you know, was one thing on the coaching, you know, which, I mean, Tara was wonderful. I loved her to death. But I'm just like, honey, they're not ready for this yet. They're not talking to us yet. And we're overwhelming them, you know. With the first of the year, you didn't even ask her. The first of the year, these little ones were just looking at us. So I think and crying. Oh, they cried till fall break. And then we was off for fall break, because we was off that extended period. They come back crying. It's like, oh. They're talking now, but, you know, it's just knowing what's developmentally appropriate. And then it's not even knowing what's developmentally appropriate for that age. It's knowing what's developmentally appropriate for that child. Next question, I guess.
So the next section deals with Tippy Toes Tier 2. So these questions refer to the Tier 2 training and coaching that you participated in sometime between November and February, depending on which site you are, which you're de-identified, so I'm not sure which site y'all are.
Say that again.
So this refers to the Tier 2 coaching and training you participated in between November and February.
When we went to central office.
Is it when we went to central office? Okay. Because we watched some videos too. That would be considered trainings too. But now that was last summer though. That wouldn't have been between November. Because we went to that training in December.
Yeah, I should say. Yeah. So is it their training?
I believe
Yes.
so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so how would you describe the overall effectiveness of the Tier 2 training and coaching procedures?
I mean, it was just, I don't know. To me, going and sitting and listening to all that doesn't affect me as much as having the Tara come, the one-on-one, the mentoring, okay, this is what I've seen happen, this is what, you know, I get more benefit out of that than I do going and sitting and watching videos and hearing, you know, slideshows or, you know, that kind of stuff. Because I'm like anybody else, my attention span sometimes.
Yes, that's me. That's me too. I really like she said, one-on-one, and her coming in, and then, you know, walking us through everything that we've done heard on the in the trainings. But I like to give you gotta walk me through it in one-on-one and slow down and
Because it was nice having somebody break it down, because I've always told them, positive, reinforcement or redirection. This is the, and yes, that gets us through the day, but it also helps to say, well, this is why it works. Because, sometimes we're like children. You have to make those connections for us too, so.
And then how would you describe the effectiveness of Tier 2 training and coaching procedures in terms of supporting your ability to support individual children's social, emotional, and behavior needs?
Okay, I thought it was good, and it really went with our kid. Instead of their training, it gave us examples of this child, and I was like, we ain't got no kids like that. So when Tara came in and, she did what she had to do, and she came back to us and she was like, well, this is him, and this is, this is what I'm noticing, and if we try this, then maybe it'll be good and it can help. And some of it really helped. And then, when everything with the child was okay, it really helped. But when you put on the other factors of the home and what's going on, there were sometimes that it didn't help, but sometimes it did.
Well, I remember one thing that stands out with me is the input, having a third set of eyes, because I know I was just like, okay, we've still got one little girl that she's either way down low or way up high. There's no middle a lot of times, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what, and it was just me saying, honey, wait a minute, or I'll be with you in a minute, or I've got this one, and then it'll be your turn. Just putting her off. She would melt down. And so Tara's like, well, maybe if it's where you can get right to her, and that will help keep that, from, she said, I know there's sometimes you can't, but she said she doesn't like to be put off, even if you, explain it to her in a way that she'll understand, and even if you're consistent and trying to, and I'm still bad about it, even like when and I've got 4 or 5 things going on, I'll be like, give me just a second, I'm like, oh, she's still doing that, and I'm like, okay, I'm not supposed to do that, and I'm conscious and know I'm not supposed to do it, but sometimes, human nature just kicks in, and I do it anyway. So even that helped, and it, her input, we was seeing things that we wouldn't see, and so that was.
Yes, Miss Tara did that by herself, because me and Miss Kimmy, we could not figure out what's triggering her. And usually we can, but with her we just really couldn't. And that day Miss Tara came that morning to see drop off. And then that's when Miss Tara picked up on it, and I said, I would have never noticed it was just that.
And two, making us more conscious of you staying with her and say, okay, I'm gonna give you this, and then that's when we brought in the timer, and having, okay, I'm spending this amount of time with you. When the timer goes off, then I need to move on to another child. So you are putting her needs right there, and you are giving her time, but then you're going on to another child, because you can't stay with that one child the whole day. And so she got good at that, trying to transition her into the room. So I think just having the extra input.
Yes, like you said, that third eye, baby, be good. Third eye be good.
Especially when they're not responsible for children, because even though I'm over here, for example, playing with little Johnny, and I'm over here playing, and I'm trying, but I'm still scanning the room and trying to watch the other 7. Well, I'm still trying to interact with little Johnny, but I'm still trying to do this. Where when you've got a third person coming in, and it's like, okay, I want you to look at this. And that's what they can look at. They're not in direct care of these children and having to keep the other 7. They can just focus. And so I think that really helps.
Yep, me too. And she always, every time we thought we had something, can you just watch us? She would always watch us and come back, and like I said, whatever she told us to try, and we tried it, and it worked. So it was, she just helped us have so much this year, baby. She just don't even know.
And then how would you describe the effectiveness of the debrief meetings? And then how would you describe your comfort level with the coaching and the debrief meetings?
Well, at first I was very comfortable. I was, it was, she was the mentor. I was the protege. I was asking. I was telling. And then I got corrected halfway through and was told that I couldn't say this, this, and this. And I was like, okay. So from then on, I was really reluctant to share with some of the stuff. I mean, I stuck with just what we're supposed to, I mean, I was just talking about, all different types of behaviors and everything, and so that really did, and it wasn't Tara didn't do it. It was, that just kind of damaged that, because it's supposed to be a level, neutral field where I'm just kind of asking this and rolling this around, and I just didn't feel that comfort of asking and rolling any kind of ideas around. But that's just my personal, and it wasn't nothing. Tara didn't do anything to break the trust at all.
No, with me, the debrief, I really like the debriefs, because it'd be some days that I told Miss Kimmy when Tara left, oh, Miss Kimmy, I didn't do nothing Tara asked us to do. I couldn't even do this little big thing. And then when she come back with a debrief, she said, well, y'all did this, this, and this. And we like, okay, so we is doing something. So even though we thought that one day we didn't do nothing we were supposed to do, and we were like, well, if she would have been here this day, then we, when she wasn't here, we can always pick out what we did that we were supposed to be doing. But it seemed like just those days that she came, and we'll just be like, I tell Miss Kim, I didn't do nothing Tara told us to do. I said, and she came just to look for what we were supposed to do. I said, and I didn't even do it. And then when she would come back and she would be like, well, you did this, this, and this, and that tied in with our goals. And I'd be like, okay, now you got me feeling myself now. I did, even though I didn't think I did, but I did. So to me, I was like, okay, I really like this, because here I am thinking I didn't do nothing. But then when she got to sit down and telling us, we like, oh, well, we really did something. And so I'd be like, okay. So I really like that, like, give me positive feedback. And I didn't really think I did anything, but I really did. I like the debriefs.
Right, and then in reference to data that you collected on your own implementation and on child behaviors, how feasible did data collection feel to you, and how would you change the process to make it more feasible?
Ask it one more time.
Yep. So in reference to the data that you collected on your own implementation and on child behavior, how feasible did collecting data feel to you, and how would you change that process to make it more feasible?
The chart with the tally marks was about the best. I mean, it's the quickest way is whatever. But then, of course, to me, I was just like, why not even put that tally mark? So I wish there was some way, and it's hard when you've got children in here, to jot down what that tally mark meant. Why did I just put a tally mark, And I think that there would have been more sustenance to it if it had an example of why I put that down there and why I was making that connection to our goals or whatever. So I think that was my big thing. I'm just like, okay, I put a tally mark, but then by the time I met with her that next week, I got a tally marker, but I don't remember why. So I think I should have been better about, and like I said, we have a lot of paperwork here anyway. But if there had been some way to have documented why I put that tally mark, and that way, then when the debrief come along, I could say, okay, this is what happened, and this is what
Especially when you tally marked by yourself, or like say if Miss Kimmy did something that was connected to the goal, like, oh, Miss Kimmy, you just did this, and this, and that was our goal. So we can go ahead and put on the tally mark. So when we called each other out on us doing the goal, like that's when we could sort of kind of remember what happened. That's why we put that tally mark down. But when you just do it by yourself, it's like, oh, why I put that there? I put that there for some reason, but I don't know why.
I don't remember. We just put tally marks. And so, but it made us more conscious too about, like she said when she called me out. Oh, well, you've done this, this, and this, or I call her. Oh, well, you've done that, and so that made us more conscious of each other too. Because if me and her didn't get along and work well, then the kids wouldn't get along and work well.
Yeah.
And then, what's been the biggest barrier or challenge to implementing the pyramid model, and specifically, how manageable is implementing the practices in your classroom?
It's fairly easy, I think, as far as implementing, because we set the classroom up for the children to have, free access to everything. The way our program is set up, though, I think sometimes, because in the early classroom, we have to start, we're not out at all. We come all summer, and then we have no days to get the classroom ready. So I feel like I'm always behind. So I think, as far as our program, if they would give us a day to clean everything and get everything set up and get, names on cubbies, and because I think that's important that you have the children's a place when they get here. The family board I think needs to be in place. I think as far as in here we don't do the center management, but they do move around freely, and they so we do set that part up for success, that they can move around on their own. So that part was fairly easy, and of course we keep our Tucker turtle in here, but just being able to reference that and talk about it all the time is kind of hard. And just keeping different, ideas of in through your nose, calming down strategies, and trying to keep things, because, after you tell them to blow out your birthday cake, they get bored of that. So it's like, okay, I got to think of something else. And then I would Tara come up with pinwheels. And I thought, I got to get some pinwheels. And I have yet to buy any yet. But I'm like, by the time I get to them next year, and they're going to be crying with little pinwheels. And so stuff like that, just having her for extra ideas like that. But I think with the way we set our classroom up and the way our schedule is, and of course we have we're consistent. We have breakfast at the same time. We go outside at the same time. We eat lunch at the same time. We have naps same time, dinner at the same time, go home same time. So I think that consistency with the schedule, I think that helps.
Let's say implementing the what you call it? I think we I don't know. I think we can implement it, don't you? We implement it good.
Because my Head Start sets their classrooms up using the pyramid, that,
Mm-hmm.
and you're always going to have your little top of the pyramid kids that, don't conform to it, and so that's where your struggle is. That I think that no matter what kind of research you do and what kind of talks you do, there's some kids that they just have all that ick, or well, I think that's what they've told us in the past. They come in, with issues, and so what if I play with every toy in here? I don't want to do nothing but go around and clear off shelves and, throwing it at you. So, and you're always going to have that. And it is sad. And I just wish there was something that could help with that. Like I was even talking to Tara, I said, I wish that, because like the preschool has second steps. They have a whole curriculum. And I told her, I said, it would be cool if there was a toddler. I know infants are too little for that kind of, but if there was a toddler curriculum where you could, and that baby doll circle time that lady's got now, that's kind of neat. And we've tried to request baby dolls to do that with, but just something where, you're teaching them. Because this age, academics is good, but at this age, it's all social emotional and learning self-help. That's all that this is.
And so what's been the biggest barrier or challenge you face when participating in trainings and coaching?
I don't think we faced
I
any.
didn't face any really, because they pretty well made it accommodating when we get to it. And then Tara come with a laptop some and done some trainings here, and so no, everybody was real accommodating to that.
What have been the greatest benefits to implementing the pyramid model and participating in training and coaching?
What was the greatest benefit? Ooh, the money. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing.
I don't think you said letting us make us being more aware of how we talk about it to the kids, and what what we do, and like she said, just be more aware of things to where I know I wouldn't.
Gives greater understanding of feelings, because they're little, and everybody's like, oh well, they're little, but no, they understand. They know. They for the most part, you can they understand, and I know first year Tara was just like, oh well, tell them you don't like this, or you do like this, or you would prefer. I said, right now, because this first year they was all crying. I said, don't none of them like me. I'm the person that's taking them out of their mama's arms in the morning, and then mama goes away and don't come back for a while. And I said, it's just a few hours, but it seems like a lifetime because they don't understand time. So I said, and I understand that they were sad, and it just was going, and it all comes down to no matter how much you do, you have to support them, but it still takes time. Time is the key to all of it. You have to build a relationship with them. You have to, and you can't stand up and bark at them and talk at them. You got to get down and talk to them. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits that I got, was that I need to slow down sometimes, because it gets hectic in here. You know, and the first of the school year, that's all it's going to be is routines. And there's not going to be worrying about, because even when the lady, she come in, she's like, well, why aren't you writing on their artwork what they're telling you? Oh, my honey, they do good to tell me that this is a table. They're not going to tell me that they painted something. And so now they're starting to do that. You have to keep reinforcing that, or they wouldn't be telling me now. You know, one little guy held up his picture the other day. This is my masterpiece. Well, if we hadn't been working on it all year, that, oh, tell me about your picture, then he wouldn't been able to say that. And I understand, but it just takes time. And I wish everybody could benefit and go through a coaching thing and go through working and training to see that it takes time. It just takes time in building relationships.
I agree, Miss Kimmy.
All right, and then what types of support would you need to be able to continue using the pyramid model?
What type of what?
Support would you need to be able to continue using the pyramid model?
Miss Tara back.
Just send Miss Tara to come work with us every day. That way we can say, here, honey, he's your friend today. No, I'm just kidding. Which, of course, our classrooms are set up. I mean, that's Head Start. We have to follow all that. And, of course, I'm not good with the tally mark thing. I wasn't good with it when it was going on. But just the quickest way, I mean, it's probably the most as far as being able to, you know, but then,
I don't know. I guess we can always refer back to our little handouts. We can always refer back to the little handouts they gave us.
oh, I know we got one tape in here that we liked that we're going to share with parents talking about play. Social stages of play.
Always.
Because, you know, it's not that the kids are misbehaving a lot of times. It's just they don't know how to play. Especially if they're an only child or, you know, everything's always theirs. Because we're still, we've had them since August and we're still, they're like, that's mine. Because they touched it a month ago. It's still theirs, you know. It's like, honey, we're not at your house. We're at school. This is everybody's toys. And so that's one thing that we're still trying to work on. And then we got some multiples of toys, so that helps. But some things we don't have multiples of. But it seems like the ones that we don't have multiples of is the hot.
Yeah, no, and I know Miss Tara said that if we ever need a little extra help, that we could just email her and she'll help us. So that'll help us.
Just knowing that support's there.
Just knowing it's there if we need it. Whoa, we all wish we don't. We hope we don't need it. We hope we can get the ones, hit them at the 1 and the 2 tier, and we don't want to go. We don't want to go up. We don't want to go up.
Awesome. So that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for participating in this study, sharing your ideas. Your stipend check should be in the mail shortly, and if you haven't received them within 6 weeks, please reach out to Abby or Kim.
We've done research.
Oh,
We've done
yes. Perfect.
We've done received them.